one extra video, one extra light. Let's talk about it. So, the previous video, my first year on YouTube video, I shot this video in this studio. Shout out to Mark. Mark is upstairs right now, he's working, but shout out to Mark. But when I was shooting my first year on YouTube video, I shot it with just one light, and many people commented on the fact that the lighting was just looking good. So I wanted to provide some tips and advice when you aren't able to get more than one light, because when you are shooting an interview or an interview type video, most of the time you shoot with a free lighting setup, with a key light, with a fill light and a hair light or backlight. I didn't do that because I wanted to set a tone, to set the mood, to set the vibe, and I achieved that with just one light. So let's talk about filming with one light. So the main thing you have to keep in mind is when you buy a light, mostly when you buy a softbox, you get a diffuser with it, and I have two diffusers right now on my left side. So having two diffusers or even one diffuser will help you in the long run, because having harsh lighting is just awful. In the example you're going to see right now, you're going to see that having harsh light, and I had the harsh light around 10%, and I have one example of 100%. You can see the lighting is very harsh, which makes it look awful. So don't try to shoot without a diffuser. If you have the budget to buy a diffuser, most of the time you get the diffuser with the softbox, but if you don't, make sure to buy a diffuser, because a diffuser will help and save your footage in the long run. So that is the reason why you should get a diffuser, because if you have a diffuser, your light becomes much softer, less harsh than it would be when you don't have a diffuser. So make sure to get a diffuser if you don't get it with your softbox, so your light becomes much more soft and your subject becomes much better lit. The second thing is make sure to buy a grid, which helps you spread around the light equally on the subject, so it doesn't become compacted but much more spread around on the subject, so your subject becomes better lit with a grid and a diffuser. So make sure to buy a grid and a diffuser if it isn't added with the softbox. So the third thing, or at least the second category, is positioning your light, and that's very, very important for when you are going to shoot an interview type of video with just one light, or any setup video with one light. The positioning. You have three popular positions you can use to lit up your subject, lit up yourself when you're shooting a video. Flat lighting, Rembrandt lighting, and split lighting. You have much more ways to position your lighting and light your subject, but we're going to cover three of them. So the first is flat lighting, and flat lighting you have already seen in this video, because the first three B-roll sections were just shot with flat lighting. And flat lighting is when the light comes in front of your subject, so from a 0-degree angle, just right in front of the subject, and it creates zero contrast, doesn't have any shadow, so it doesn't have any depth, any emotion to it. So you're just lighting up the whole subject and there's nothing else to it. No contrast, no shadows, so that's the most basic way of lighting. It isn't the best way to do it, but you can do it. I would avoid it as much as possible. Flat lighting is an alternative method to use your lighting. So the second way to position your lighting is exactly the way I used it in my previous video, which is the Rembrandt lighting. And the Rembrandt lighting comes from the famous painter Rembrandt van Rijn, and he used in his paintings the lighting coming from a 45-50 degree angle, so one side of the face was well lit and the other side of the face had shadows, because the shadows were casted by the nose, a little bit around the eyes, around the mouth. So that is where it comes from. So as I said, you put the light around the 50 degree angle, not completely to the 90 degrees, because then you will have a different type of lighting, but just around 35, 50, 45 degree angle. And that's where create, as I said, the shadow, the contrast, and it looks much better. It gives much more emotion within your video, because I used it in my previous video and it worked really well. It's just you have to look how to position it, how bright your light would be or should be. But the positioning is very important, because it just creates emotion, it creates a vibe, it creates a tone for in your video. So I would say the most used lighting position on YouTube by far, Rembrandt Lighting. The painter was amazing, so why not use it? Shooting 2 videos is quite stressful, and I usually don't do it on one day. I mostly do it 2 days apart, 3 days apart, maybe just 2 in 1 week, but not 2 in 1 day. So this is quite new for me. But the last way we are going to talk about, the last method, the last positioning tactic you can use to light up your video, light up your subject, is split lighting. And split lighting is just basically an amplified version of Rembrandt lighting, which is you put the light around a 90 degree angle just on the side of your subject. Left or right is exactly the way to go. So a 90 degree is just crucial. And if you do that, the thing you will achieve is a very dark and moody subject. Your subject's face will be 50-50. One part of the face will be perfectly lit up, and the other part will be very dark, much more shadows. It almost completely covers the one half of your face like I am having right now, but just amplified. So much more shadows, much more contrast, and it makes it much more moody, much more dark, much more serious. I would only use it for specific purposes, like I said, when you are shooting a very serious video, or when you want to convey much more emotion within your scene. So 90 degrees, just from the right or left of your subject, it doesn't really matter. And to convey much more emotion, much more dark vibes, moody vibes, it just makes it look much more serious than just this one, because this is just what you guys are used to. You guys don't see this as a very serious scene, but when you have a black background and you are having one side of the face covered up, makes it much more serious, much more, it conveys much more emotion. But this is also a way you can use it to light up your subject. So split lighting, Rembrandt lighting, flat lighting. Those 3 are the easiest way to light up yourself when you are making videos like I do, or when you are shooting a subject. These are the easiest ways to light up your subject, but these aren't the only ways to use a lighting in terms of position. You have much more ways to do it. We are just talking about these 3 lighting positions. As I said, there are much more ways to position your light than just only these 3, but those 3 are the main, or at least the most used way to light your subject or light your video. So, and this is the way how I do it. I sometimes use flat lighting, most of the time use Rembrandt lighting. I rarely use split lighting, but I'm going to use it much more in the future for specific videos. So with that being said, I think I'm going to cover all the other ways to position your lighting in the next videos. But if you guys want to see that, let me know. With that being said, if you like this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you are new to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one.